Anything you didn't like gets addressed later on, stupid. You should have read the comic before you made the video, stupid. Turns out anyone who didn't like the episode is stupid because he didn't read 500 chapters when it gets really good and it explains everything. That totally makes everything you didn't like in the episode not to be a problem anymore, alright? Wrong, it's still bad, and for an anime-only viewer, this is all he has for evaluating Tower of God. I am an anime-only as well. I didn't read the comic because I lost interest in it almost immediately. It felt like reading some sort of a stupid SAO fanfic. So whatever I said in my episodic impressions video is limited to what happened in that episode. If I hadn't done that, and I was mentioning things that are happening outside of that episode, it wouldn't really be called episodic impressions, would it now? Therefore, whatever these fanboys are saying for defending the show doesn't count if it doesn't exist within the episode. Whatever anime-onlys think of it thus far is limited to that episode and nothing else. Anything beyond that is not only off topic, it's also a spoiler and a mood killer. Imagine yourself watching the Saiyan saga in Dragon Ball for the first time after you've been spoiled by the manga readers. It's not gonna be fun if you know what happens next, and it's definitely not making the show better. Man, this Vegeta guy seems very strong. Yeah, wait to see Jiren. Man, this Kaioken thing is very cool. Yeah, wait to see Ultra Instinct. What a way to kill whatever interest one has in the show by mentioning stuff that are irrelevant to what you are talking about. Episodic impressions are limited to the episode. If people don't like the episode, don't try to change their mind by mentioning stuff that happens later. If it's not in the episode, it doesn't matter. You are only destroying their fun, not to mention spreading toxic fanboyism. Hey, Tower Tards! Shut up about what happens later on in the manga and stop acting like assholes who think they can save face by spoiling everything. Because in less than a single day, you managed to prove you're not any less toxic than the gay footists, the shield hero dick riders, or the delusional fanboys of Samurai 8 who kept yelling at everyone for not liking that garbage.
If you have problems and you would love to talk about it and you want to talk about how they can fix it and where you would like to see the series go, don't bother at all. You may as well keep your mouth shut. I don't care, and I don't have any time to talk to you. I hold it very close to me as a series that is my number one of any series ever.
In another example of absurdity from the fanboys of Tower of God, I am being accused of not giving the story a chance and instead I hate it from the very beginning, which is a big fat lie. How am I not giving it a chance when I am still here, watching it, talking about it, waiting to be amazed as they promised? If I truly didn't care, I would have dropped it and never mentioned it again. I am giving it all the chances in the world for it to manage to impress me, and I'm not feeling sorry for not liking it.
Feel sorry for cancer.
With that said, I am frequently checking the sub-forum for topics to talk about, because I am giving it a chance. And in just 24 hours, I found lots of anime-onlys who gave the webcomic a chance after the fanboys promised them it's amazing. They trusted them, gave the webcomic a chance, and they hated it. And I'm not talking about a couple of people here. These threads you see are a third of the total of all new threads in the past 24 hours. The rest of them are not made by anime-onlys, they are made by fanboys who have read all 500 chapters and now theory-craft nonsense about what might happen later. So essentially within 2 episodes, most newcomers don't like what they were promised, and the average score on Mal dropped as well.
This is cancer.
The question of the day is, are these anime-onlys allowed to not like the Tower of God after they gave it a chance? According to the replies, no they are not. They are still not giving it a chance because it keeps getting better and better, and if you don't like it, you don't have faith. And thus yet another fandom is proven to be a cult which doesn't want disbelievers to soil their temple of yes-men with negativity.
Don't hurt his feelings, kids. Give cancer a chance.
Back when I posted my first issue with Tower of God in the sub-forum, I was told not to be negative. We should all be positive so webcomics can become popular, so we can have even more webcomic adaptations. Not because they deserved it, there have to be more adaptations for the sake of having more adaptations. Consume products and be excited for more products. Eventually the fanboys assumed that not many were complaining about the pacing and that eventually even bad publicity is still publicity. Let the haters make fun of it as much as they want. It is not a big issue and they are only making it more popular. In a couple of months they will go back to this post and laugh with how wrong the snob was. 2 weeks later, everybody now agrees with me and admits the pacing is terrible. It is not my imagination, it's an actual problem. And because some fanboys can't take the truth, they demand from people to stop saying the pacing is bad, even though just 2 weeks ago they insisted it's not an issue. Some people told them to calm down, it's the truth, so they just have to accept it. But the fanboys can't take it because it's not helping the show, despite also saying it helps the show to become more popular. The fanboys have essentially moved from denial to anger. They can no longer ignore the obvious problem and are now being polemic about it. Soon they will start saying, it is not as bad as you make it. Then, Mom, this could have been so good. And eventually they will agree that the Tower of God was never good. And then you can go back to the videos I made and laugh with how right the snob was.
This is looking like his enemy of the year.
The MC wins all the time without even trying, thus making all challenges meaningless, since it doesn't matter what they are about or what they require. This is not an unpopular opinion, everyone agrees to that, including the fanboys. The only difference is, the fanboys use mental gymnastics for making it seem like it's not a problem. And this brings us to this genius excuse over here, which is used by every fandom in every series. Every time they realize the main characters are broken, they simply mention how much tension there is for the average Joe. Like in this case. Are you insane? Only 2 out of a million succeed, that's super hard. Yes, it is, if you're an average Joe. But we are not following this story through the eyes of the average Joe, are we now? We follow it through the eyes of a fake underdog who is the chosen one and wins all the time with his luck skill. That is not a 2 in a million chance. In fact, there are no chances. He wins all the time, therefore there is no tension. The odds mean nothing for characters that have broken powers and are thus favored by the writer. It's the same case when they say there is no plot armor in Attack on Titan because anyone can die. Yeah, anyone who is not a major character, that is, because they get away with it all the time while everyone else dies in a single hit. So again, who cares what the odds are when you're not following the story of the farmer with a shotgun? We are following the story of a fake underdog who wins all the time, so shut up with your lame excuses, you delusional fanboys! There is no tension, over and out.
Don't bother at all. You may as well keep your mouth shut. I don't care.
It was clear since the very first episode that the main character is a white piece of toast with nothing worth caring about. But with enough mental gymnastics, even watching paint dry can be thought-provoking, as proven by the fanboys of Tower of God. That blank piece of paper that is Bam is now the deepest, most mature protagonist in the history of forever. And no, it's not just one guy who believes that. Pretty much everybody in the comments agrees that a sack of bricks which does nothing and wins all the time with no tactics is the best protagonist ever conceived. Inconceivable, isn't it? Not when you're a delusional fanboy. So in case you wonder how the hell this works, it's because he turns from a boring protagonist who wins all the time without fighting to a boring protagonist who wins all the time by steamrolling his enemies. Both of which are equally lame, but in the minds of fanboys, this somehow becomes amazing character development. There is a bit more justification and it all comes down to reusing the same bullshit as the shield hero. You know, the one that begins with a weak male who gets victimized by a woman and turns into justice porn. Same shit happens here. A woman betrayed him and an organization is using him for their agenda. It sounds interesting on paper, but just like it happened with the shield hero, it's complete bullshit. He didn't become better as a character because he's still a piece of white toast. His motivation to take revenge on the woman never happens because just like in the shield hero, he keeps letting her go despite all the damage she keeps causing. His other motivation to protect his friends is also not working out because he has no friends. They left him alone and are now passing tests somewhere else where they can get killed just as easily. How is he protecting them when he's not part of their team anymore? And on top of that, he keeps letting the woman who keeps hurting them to get away with it. He doesn't even know if they're still alive, so how does he claim he protects them? And the organization that is supposed to be using him amounts to nothing, since he doesn't obey anyone. He steamrolls whoever gets in his way, not because he's following orders, but because that's the only thing you can do in this stupid tower. He passes tests and goes up the tower, which is what he was doing anyways. There is only one thing you can do in this stupid setting and it doesn't change no matter what happens to you. Therefore, nothing changed. He had no personality and was winning all the time without trying before. He has no personality and is winning all the time without trying now. It's still the same shit and the fanboys are eating it because they have faith.
This is looking like his enemy of the year.
The amount of people who complain about the Tower of God increase exponentially by the day, and the fanboys are using their usual mental gymnastics for proving them wrong, and only end up embarrassing themselves. For example, they say,
What do you mean there is no tension? Didn't you see how angrily the lizard chick looked at the main character? That's a lot of tension right there.
yeah, it's so scary when she's just staring. I am really anxious to see how she's going to not kill that white piece of toast that is the main character for whom I don't care about. And I am really afraid of her for getting ridiculed in the same scene by having that tracksuit guy cracking jokes in the middle of what is supposed to be a serious moment. So much tension, man.
And what do you mean the characters are blonde and dull? Just wait for more episodes to come out until they are not.
Yeah, because that will magically make the boredom you felt while watching these episodes to go away.
And what do you mean Bum is a boring character? He's supposed to be boring so he can develop later on. Why do you expect him to develop right away?
Nobody expects him to develop. They expect him to be a good character. And he's just a white piece of toast. Even if he develops later on, which won't happen, it won't take away the fact that he was boring during these episodes. Which is why demanding to wait for more episodes to come out until he's not doesn't fix a thing.
The MC has done nothing of the story and everything is being handed to him? Are you even paying attention? Didn't you see how he killed that monster on the first floor?
No, I didn't see how he killed that monster, because he didn't kill it. The floor master is the one who killed it. I guess I'm not paying attention.
He ignited a legendary sword.
Which was handed to him. He didn't earn it, and he didn't do anything to deserve getting a bankai.
He wasn't affected by the magic wall.
And he didn't do anything either, therefore the victory was handed to him.
He didn't let the lizard chick to take his sword.
And he didn't have to fight for it either, thus once again he won without having to actually do a single thing. No matter how many things the fanboys mention, won't change the fact that he is not doing anything, he doesn't earn his victories, and he doesn't deserve a single thing. He has a passive luck skill that makes him win all the time without trying, which is exactly why everything is handed to him without doing anything. Why are you protesting when that is exactly what is happening? Over here, he addresses the complaint of nobody being an underdog.
But Bum is not an underdog.
He's not. He's a fake underdog. Someone who most are underestimating, while easily winning all the time without trying.
And not everybody is overpowered. Didn't you see how many got defeated already?
We are not following the story through the eyes of the farmer with a shotgun. We follow it through the eyes of the main characters, all of which are overpowered. And by the way, I am paying attention to the details, and my criticisms don't go away. How about you delusional fanboys, who have the nerve to complain instead of accepting the truth? And then he finishes the thread with the usual bullshit of people don't have the patience to call the story overrated until it's over. How ironic to hear that coming from a fanboy who is dick-riding an incomplete manhwa. It's not okay to hate it before it's over, but it's okay to love it before it's over. Once again it is proven that the most toxic haters within a fandom are the very people who call others toxic because they can't accept legit criticism. Why would you want to be part of such an embarrassing community that uses double standards in such a pathetic way? Don't be. Save yourselves the embarrassment.
Don't bother at all. You may as well keep your mouth shut. I don't care.
A fanboy of the Tower of God watched my videos and became so furious, he asked me to mention an anime I like so he could prove how you can find problems in any show, no matter what it is. Therefore my analysis is relativistic and not eye-opening at all. I mentioned Fullmetal Alchemist, and this is how he thinks he proved his point. By stating again and again how it's not original, therefore it's trash. That is the worst thing he could think of for trashing the best shonen of all times. Because originality, something that doesn't exist anymore, because every possible scenario has been used over 1,000 times already, matters more than execution. And I like how the same thing can be used against the Tower of God, which has no originality whatsoever since it's just a shonen, but I never mentioned that in a negative light. In fact, I praised it during the first episodic impressions for trying to be like a shonen. Lacking originality doesn't matter if the execution is great, and in this case it's not. All the issues I pointed out have to do with execution, including the one where I said it turns into a generic fighting shonen after 500 chapters, and only in the sense it doesn't become better as the fanboys insist. Unless, of course, they openly admit it starts off as garbage and becomes average after 500 chapters. best Korean webcomic, ladies and gentlemen. Just imagine how worse the second one is, which is a Solo Leveling, a run-of-the-mill power fantasy about a generic OP guy steamrolling everybody. Hey, wait a second, that's exactly what Tower of God becomes after 500 chapters. Solo Leveling is the exact same thing and doesn't need 500 chapters until it gets good. By execution alone, it's much better, so why is it second? Because it doesn't change. It starts as a power fantasy and stays that way. Unlike the Tower of God that begins with a white toast and bad pacing and needs 500 chapters until it becomes functional as a generic power fantasy. How original and well executed, and that is why Full Metal Alchemist is trash.
This is looking like his anime of the year.
A few people disagreed with my earlier video when I said the Tower of God is a failure because Japan doesn't care about it. Supposed it wasn't made for Japan, since it's a Crunchyroll original. It's made for the West, so if it is a success there, Japan doesn't matter. A claim which is complete bullshit. Crunchyroll did not create this anime. A Japanese studio created this anime with a Japanese dub. Also, how is it original when it's based on a webcomic? Just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. The Tower of God is as original as The Lion King is not based on Kimba the White Lion. Even if we assume the opinion of the West matters, they are not thrilled about it. Since nowadays 90% of the hype begins and ends with Sakuga, if the production values are not super great, almost nobody is going to like it, regardless of what it's about. That is why a complete average fighting shonen like Demon Slayer is considered a masterpiece and nobody cares about Vinland Saga. Same case here. Almost nobody cares about the Tower of God because it doesn't have 10 out of 10 animation 24/7. That is the one and only one thing 90% of anime fans care about. That is why Sword Art Online is one of the most popular anime in history and nobody cares about Shinsekai Yori. As for the rest of the 10%, it's mostly webcomic readers who don't care about the animation as much as seeing what they like being finally animated. Not because it deserves it, but because they want to see it animated. If they weren't so vocal about it, and if the industry wasn't deriding Korean webcomics as the next fad after Isekai, they would be making fun of how mediocre it is as a production. It would be mocked because there is no Sakuga to be hyped about. It's the only thing modern audiences care about. But they don't mock it. They give it a pass because they want it to succeed. Because if it succeeds, they will get more webcomic adaptations for the sake of getting more webcomic adaptations. They don't care about how good the anime is. They are just promoting an agenda, which is what destroyed so many beloved franchises from our childhood. And that is why modern sucks and retro wins.
This series is incredibly important. I cannot personally say how the story is later on, or how the artwork gets, how the character development is. I can't personally say how it is. However, it's a very important series because if Tower of God does well, we could get more webtoons into anime. It is super important. What makes this series something very important just because of webtoons as anime? That's what this really is. It's very important. I'm very excited. I want to leave it at that.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
Let's talk once more about the show that began the new era of anime. This fanboy here claims that you cannot judge something unless you read it, and because I didn't read 500 chapters until it gets good, I am not allowed to judge the Tower of God. I do not agree with this, and neither should anyone who possesses critical thinking. Not when you can read reviews and analysis and even topics on the sub-forum. I scroll through it every day and find more and more people who are disappointed with the webcomic. I didn't find them in some obscure Facebook page. They are all found in the sub-forum, the place where the biggest fanboys gather. So how am I not allowed to judge it when I don't like what I have seen so far, and on top of that the very dedicated fans are displeased with how all the characters they liked have no relevance anymore, battles became lazy, and instead of looking forward to more mystery and world building, now it's just waiting to see more bankais and debating who has the bigger battle power. The same fanboy excuses that as only a small portion of fans being disappointed, while the majority loves what the webcomic has turned into. I am only checking out the very few negative topics when most others are positive. Is that the case when everybody who no longer likes the mindless shonen it has turned into gave up on reading it? Just look at this guy asking why is the beginning of the webcomic, the one we are watching right now in the anime, so underrated by the fandom when it's in fact the best part for all the aforementioned reasons. The answer he gets is because most of those who don't like the mindless fighting shonen it turned into left the fandom, and thus you only find people who like brain-dead explosions. And even then, half of the topics are negative anyways, since the subforum is filled with newcomers who binged the webcomic after the anime began airing and they were disappointed. So why do I have to read 500 chapters before I judge something, when everybody who did so are telling me it gets worse? The same fanboy is obviously not going to admit that and claims the webcomic becomes better and better the more mindless fighting it is filled with, which doesn't make any sense since that makes it a bottom-of-the-barrel fighting shonen and not this super unique mystery adventure that is unlike any other shonen. Let's check out a few of those mental gymnastics they are using in order to excuse that. The most basic is, you are watching it wrong. It was never about a group of friends using teamwork and tactics and bonding with each other between tests. It was always about a white piece of toast steamrolling everybody with mindless explosions. Oopsie for the people who like the show for its lively characters, not including the white piece of toast. And obviously every other character has to stop being relevant when the main character is that powerful. Basically the Dragon Ball explanation for making everybody besides Goku and Vegeta obsolete. Isn't it strange that a comic which brags about being complex and multi-layered ends up settling every battle based on who has the bigger energy attack? Where is the nuance? Where is the complexity and the elaborate world building when everything comes down to power levels? Oh, come on, insist the fanboys. It was a fair trade. We exchanged lively characters and a mysterious atmosphere for an overpowered piece of toast and a rebellion that will destroy the evil government of the evil rich people. We lost something, but we also gained something else. No biggie. The only thing you have to do is to ignore your personal preferences and to always like whatever you are served. What's that? You wanted roast beef? Here is a cheeseburger instead. It's not what you like, but it is something. No biggie. As you can see, I don't have to read the comic before I can judge it, because its very fans gave up on it, and it definitely did not get better. It changed to the point it is now something completely different from what people liked about it at first, and the only option it leaves you with is to tolerate whatever it turned into, like a certain other overhyped show that is close to ending right now.
Don't bother at all. You may as well keep your mouth shut. I don't care.
I found this topic where someone was asking why there are so many feminine-looking boys in Tower of God. The right answer is because it's a cheap imitation of Hunter x Hunter. That shonen had queer baiting, so this shonen, which is not supposed to be like any other shonen, must have it too. And yes, it is queer baiting, don't try to deny it.
Is Kaneki alive? Nope, Kaneki's dead, and if he's not dead, I would call extreme bullshit. Well, that's why I like Tokyo Ghoul.
Anyways, that was not the answer he got. What most said instead is that a creator loves to troll his fans. And they said it in a positive way. This is not the first time I heard that excuse. Every time an overhyped piece of trash is trending, a very popular defense to everything that is weird about it is how the creator loves to troll his fans.
Serpent is Toka. No, it cannot possibly be Toka. Well, that's why I like Tokyo Ghoul.
It's another type of mental gymnastics akin to saying, my expectations were subverted. Whereby subverted, they mean being tricked into thinking you are jacking off to a fictional girl, when in reality it's a fictional guy, thus you are gay. You didn't expect that, did you?
I knew Musuki was not a freaking dude. I have been reverse trapped. So Musuki is actually a girl. Well, that's why I like Tokyo Ghoul.
If the story's good, then it doesn't need to treat you like an idiot by surprising you every time you fop. It is good by what it's showing you and not by what it's hiding from you, and which in the long run doesn't make any difference. What's the point of being trolled into thinking someone is a girl? It doesn't mean anything for the plot besides being queer baiting.
Torso is Shu. Just got trolled. We find out that this dude isn't the same person, like it is not Shu. Ishida loves trolling his fan base. It's obvious he does. I'm actually going to compliment Ishida on this, and actually it gives me a lot more respect for him as a mangaka.
In today's thought-provoking topic, we will learn why the protagonist of Tower of God is such an amazing character, starting with the opening statement. Bum is dull because he was raised in a cave and therefore he knows nothing. There is no reason not to like him because he was written that way. If this doesn't make any sense, it's because it doesn't. Let's go over the most thought-provoking comments. I think you have to give it time. Bum is a blank canvas right now, and is very much a reflection of the reader. You discover things as Bum discovers them. You are forgetting something here. In order for the MC to be the reflection of the reader must first be interested in the MC. If he is not, he won't care about whatever he discovers. Which is why the far more generic shonen MCs do a much better job at making the reader to care about them, and by extension the setting. I think it comes from people being burned out by the shonen style White Knight you see everywhere. Naruto was particularly bad about it. However, this is a starting point. We all start somewhere, and Bum starts out pure. I think people should be excited about how he's going to face this world. Siu took a gamble with this one. People who read manga are so used to the crazy boy who always yells what he thinks, rushes without thinking, is very brave and expresses so many emotions with his face, words and actions that they find Bum tasteless. Siu chose Bum as the main character. Sure, from an in-story perspective his character is consistent, however from the audience perspective he feels like a bit of a flat goody two-shoes type. The reason main characters are usually special is that it is more interesting to read and watch interesting people. Bum is special too, the audience knows it, but they don't care about him. Bum's backstory is heavy as fuck though. Yes, but it's annoying that you don't see any of it for ages. I cut up more than 5 years of web novel by now and still nothing. Like, at least give me something, please. It's even more annoying that the whole Rachel plot is in the dark and you get to see so little of her. Yes, I am sure she will be amazing to hate or love her when the story ends, but I assume it will take ages to give us the whole picture, and I don't really know if I can handle another Will of D. Understanding and likability for a character are two different things. Bum dislikers can know why Bum is acting like that, but they can still dislike that. Example, I understand Bakugo's mind, but I still dislike him. I understand Sasuke's mind, but I still dislike him. Being raised alone in a cave is no excuse to be a blank state. This is due to shonen anime narrative, where you get all the details about the world, the character and his motivation to become a top hero, king of pirates or most powerful person in the universe. But Tower of God is different. We learn the world mostly through Bum as he progresses his journey in the tower. It's like you're suddenly sent out to a huge world which you have absolutely zero idea about, and you slowly start understanding the massive world piece by piece during your journey. This is not something unique to Tower of God at all, and not a good argument. That's literally how One Piece is structured to a T. We see the vast world mostly through Luffy, yet Oda managed to make Luffy active, dynamic and fun to watch. It's unique and refreshing to have an MC who is super kind-hearted, open-minded, just curious and wondering about the world, isn't really angry or prone to violence. Bum is almost a Jesus type, which is really cool. It's something different. How is it refreshing when Demon Slayer was just a season ago and had the exact same type of MC? I don't know why people say that. When I first started reading, all I wanted to see is how this innocent mind will develop and change when he faces the cruel realities of the tower. In the first episode only, we got to see the brutality. 400 regulars just dropped down in half. That's what got me started. He didn't develop one bit after seeing 200 deaths. It's not like most other shonen shows. This show thrives on mystery. Bum doesn't have the personality that people want. He has a lot of mystery to keep people engaged. Why do you act like most shonen don't have mystery when they all thrive on who is behind everything, what his powers are, or what they will encounter next? Every single shonen has that. But in the minds of shonen tards, this is how a white piece of toast is the best character ever.
This is looking like his enemy of the year.
I had a chat with a fan of Tower of God and told him everything that is wrong with the show. I will show you how a fanboy thinks when it comes to the criticism of something he likes. I began with the most obvious one, the rushed pacing. It adopts 6 chapters per episode, which is insanely fast. His reply, it's not rushed because the chapters are very short. No, it's skipping vital content, which is why the anime-onlys don't understand what is going on. His reply, nah, it's easy to understand. Yeah, it's so easy to understand if you read 500 chapters until it gets good. Anything else? The MC is boring and wins easily. It's the first arc and his character isn't even the focus of this arc. The same was true for Vinland Saga, so that's hardly a valid criticism. Yeah, because Vinland Saga had the exact same type of character as Tower of God. Do you really expect a character to grow in his first act of the story? No, I expect him to be a good character. Not developing does not mean he has to be boring. Naruto was great in the beginning, without the power-ups. No, he wasn't. He was an annoying shit that pulled pranks for attention. Oh great, so Bum is better than Naruto because he wasn't pulling any pranks. In fact, he's not pulling anything, he's just standing there doing nothing. Great character! He was fun, and so were most MCs in Shonen. Bum is nothing, a white piece of toast. That's entirely subjective. Oh yeah, it's subjective, it's a piece of paper. How about nobody being actual friends with each other, thus they are all jerks? Such as? Oh, he acts like he doesn't know. Oh, you know, Kun betraying his team, acts sad, then smirks because he betrayed them and they didn't realize it. They aren't his friends. Aside from Bomb and Rock, he doesn't care about anyone else, so he's not obligated to do anything for them. Oh yeah, sure, he is obligated to kill them if he is ordered. And in fact, he befriended them because of a test. So, there's no problem, so, no friends, just tests. Bum and Rock weren't on his team, so he still has them. He doesn't understand. They're not his friends, the test made them friends, and he will betray them in another test just because the test said so. How about the comic becoming a generic fighting shonen in season 3? Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho both turned into battle manga after their first arcs, so it's not an inherently bad thing. Nothing is bad for you, mate. After that, I just gave up. This guy finds nothing wrong in this show, which is the same thing with any fanboy in any series. As long as they like it, there is no problem. Which is why you must never judge something based on your emotions. You must always use your logic. Emotions are gay. Unless you are already gay or don't want to become one, don't use your emotions for judging something. Use common sense like I do. Or else this will happen.
A large number of adults who have fundamentally couched their personal aesthetic and representation of self in the conceit of the magical girl. I'm also wearing a skirt. It's usually a raving lolicon. I'm also wearing a skirt, which helps others to feel better about themselves as an idol. I'm also wearing a skirt. Compartmentalization of a girl's emotional reality into a singular fugue state. I'm also wearing a skirt. Destroy the enemies which threaten the emotional realities of themselves and the people in their communities. I'm also wearing a skirt. They are protectors of feelings. I'm also wearing a skirt.
One of the many people who were fooled into trying out Tower of God because of the hype said he didn't like Season 1. He asked if it gets better and the expected replies were, "Keep reading, it gets good in the second season." Then you find another guy who said he doesn't like the second season because all the characters he liked are gone. He asked if it gets better and the expected replies were, "Keep reading, it gets good later on." Eventually you will find people who will say they don't like the third season because it turned into mindless fighting, and when they ask if it gets better, since there is no fourth season yet, the expected replies are now, "Have faith in Sue, he knows what he's doing, it will get better." We've been over this nonsense many times in the past, so let's make it clear in case it wasn't yet clear enough. Nothing ever gets better, you either enjoy it for what it is, or you don't and you are fucking around. Anyone who says it gets better is too afraid, or stupid, or both, to admit he's just enjoying the ride. You don't need any other justification. Anyone who asks if it gets better is not enjoying the ride. And lying about it only makes things worse. Just be truthful and reply to these people that it is what it is, and if they don't enjoy it, they should try out something else. That was the case in Tower of God for over a decade now, and that will be the case with any other series as well.
Seems to have the same reaction it did now that it did over 10 years ago. The plot and characters aren't very good, everybody knows it, but you don't judge the story and characters of a roller coaster, you just enjoy the ride.
Tower of God is obviously like a video game in the way it plays out, and that can be very immersion breaking. Yet when I asked the subforum about it, they refused to admit it because the characters don't talk like they are in a video game, don't act like they are in a video game, and in general they are not in a video game. That's weird. Aren't they constantly talking about the rules of every test? Aren't they doing everything for the sole purpose of passing the tests? And isn't every test essentially a video game? Yes, having a fantasy setting does not mean it's bound to be like a video game. Having a power system does not mean they are fighting like they are in a video game either. It depends on the execution. And it's like a video game. It has character classes, they spend a lot of time in explaining the magic system as if it's a spell book, and every area feels like a video game stage instead of existing on its own. Many are still not going to admit this undeniable truth. There are no character classes, they are specializations like in the army. The world is not a video game because it's big and it has different stuff going on in it. That would be true if these elements can exist outside of the plot, and were not made for the sole purpose of having a plot. If positions are army specializations, why don't we see any armies? In fact, we will never see any team battles later on, and everybody will be fighting solo, thus rendering pointless the whole purpose of having specializations. It's just there for the sake of feeling like a video game. And if the world is not a video game because it has stuff in it, then why don't the characters interact with it? In One Piece, for example, the first part of every arc is about the characters exploring and interacting with the island they are on. In Tower of God, we have no idea about what every level has on it until it becomes part of the test. It doesn't exist before that, and it doesn't matter after it's over. It's video game logic, it's crappy world building, it's immersion breaking, and those who don't get it haven't read a good book in their whole lives.
Don't bother at all. You may as well keep your mouth shut. I don't care.
These days, the Tower Tards are celebrating their favorite show getting to the top of popularity on Reddit, even if it doesn't mean much, because it didn't have much of a competition. Almost everybody was watching either that or the second Kaguya-sama, with everything else that would definitely overshadow it in hype getting postponed. And even then, most of the karma points came from how everybody was enraged by Rachel's betrayal, as if backstabbing a piece of white toast is anything worth talking about in a show where everybody betrays everybody else. Anyways, most of the comments and heated discussions were about the reasons behind the betrayal, where nobody could offer a clear answer. I mean, how could they? Half of the plot is missing from the anime, half of the other plot is wrongfully translated in the webtoon, which gives you a completely different image of what is going on, and most of what is left is blog posts made by the creator, which exist outside the series and are supposed to explain everything he failed to show in the series. And even that is badly translated and gives you a completely different idea of what is going on. So basically, thousands of casuals upvoted the recent episode because they thought it was deep, since it takes so much brain power and thousands of comments for explaining something as simple as a betrayal based on bad translations. It's not badly written, you guys. It's deep, and you don't get it unless you talk about it for months. Which is why it comes off as hypocritical and pretentious whenever you bump onto a thread that claims you don't get it, guys. Rachel is not what you think. If you pay attention to her words, you will understand better. Which words, mate? The ones missing from the anime, the ones translated wrongfully in the English version, or the blog posts that exist outside the webcomic and are also badly translated? You understand as much as everybody else. Nothing. The Tower of God sucks.
This is looking like his anime of the year.
The Tower Tards displayed once again the type of people they are, when the team of creators behind Tower of God showed their support for God of High School, because both of them are from Korea, and that means they are better than anime made in Japan. The comment section was spammed by manlets who couldn't shut up about demanding a second season, with better animation, better directing, more episodes, and in general being completely off topic. Not only they weren't showing any support for God of High School, but they were also completely disrespectful for all the support the fans of that webcomic gave them when Tower of God was about to air. Basically, if they don't get all the attention they imagined, then nobody else is going to get it until they do. They will sabotage any Korean adaptation for the sole purpose of not letting their mediocre adaptation to be forgotten. And the irony here is how they are all behaving like Rachel, the very person they all hate for betraying the self-insert protagonist. It's fine when they are betraying the trust the team behind the God of High School gave them, but when it comes to Rachel, she can go fuck herself because they don't want to be like her, although they totally are acting just like her. And that is how the new era of anime, where Korean adaptations reign supreme over inferior anime from Japan, will be nothing more than fandoms sabotaging each other and making everybody to look like complete idiots, thus once again proving what a horrible, horrible community they created. Doing the very thing they hate Rachel for. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. This is the kind of people the Tower of God has created with its philosophy of backstabbing. They hate it, but they are all doing it. And that is why you should all not be part of this community. Leave them while you still can.
Don't bother at all. You may as well keep your mouth shut. I don't care.
Over here we have a fanboy who says the Tower of God is still in the prologue, and he states the reasons why. There are too many side stories left open and more shit keeps being added. We are nowhere near the ending. I am not going to deny that because it appears to be so, but he makes it sound like it's a positive thing when in reality it isn't. A lot of shows are doing the same thing and it backfires every single time. They keep adding more and more shit instead of developing the pre-existing shit. As a result, you get hundreds of undeveloped characters, locations, and themes, which lead to disappointment when eventually the series ends in an inconclusive way. Some say this counts only for shows that get the axe or are rushed to completion, which is a lie. Regardless of duration and pacing, there is no other way for such a series to end, since it never bothered to bring closure. It's not that much about how much time it was given for wrapping things up properly. All the time in the world won't be enough if there never was supposed to be an ending. When I stated that, I obviously got downvoted for stating the truth, because nobody wants to hear about his favorite show repeating the exact same mistakes as any other long-running shonen. They want to be told that something is perpetually going on, and it's constantly building up towards something that is never reached. And here is the big hypocrisy. Whenever you tell them they only care about adding more shit instead of seeing that shit leading to something, they will deny it and they will make it seem like they care about the outcome of the build-up, which is a lie. Because when everything is a build-up and there is no outcome, since the story is not over yet, the only thing that keeps you going is the build-up. And even when there is an outcome because the story will be over, the amount of analysis and hype regarding the ending will be a nail clip compared to the analysis and hype regarding the build-up. Because the build-up can last for decades, while the ending is instantaneous. Therefore, the only thing that keeps them going throughout the decades is the build-up. And more specifically, theory crafting, which is talking about a possible outcome based on the build-up. Such as this amazing theory that states Rachel wants to see the stars so she can be a porn star. Does it have anything to do with the actual conclusion? No, it's just random nonsense based on the build-up. It's been this way since the beginning of Tower of God, and will continue being that way up until the ending, where they will lose their value because the story is over and therefore there is no more build-up for anyone to analyze and hype. But as I said, they are not willing to admit it, because every time I am asking them why exactly they like the Tower of God, they can only reply with unfounded slander, because it's much easier to call people names than admitting you are full of shit. And that is why the Tower Tards are a horrible community, and you must not be part of them.
Tower of God is the best anime of 2020, even though it's not an anime. Tower of God has kind of taken the anime world by storm. It's quickly becoming a hit and there are plenty of reasons why. 2020's Tower of God is the newest hit series that has taken the anime scene by a bit of a surprise. The series doesn't follow the normal TV tropes seen in most modern anime. The show skips high school, and while it does have a possible slight yakai trope, it strikes out on its own. This has been pulling in viewers across the globe, and many think that the anime may even become a classic once enough time has passed. Below are some of the reasons that fans find the show so mesmerizing to watch. At number 10 we have accessibility. There is no worrying about licensing wars as it is a Crunchyroll original. At number 9 we have art style. The art style is incredibly different from most modern anime. This helps to grab fans' attention when scrolling through the catalog and bring more attention to the show. At number 8 we have webtoon roots. Unlike manga chapters, they are pretty short and can be quickly consumed within just a few minutes. This makes it easy for just about anyone to legally read this series. At number 7 we have unique character designs. These designs are easy to recognize and don't follow the normal anime tropes of pretty girls and basic or overly ripped looking men. The Tower of God uses sleek characters from many different species. At number 6 we have clueless main protagonist. This curious and clueless nature helps fans to rally behind him. At number 5 we have unique supporting characters. The rest of the cast is unique as well, like mentioned above. At number 4 we have the Tower's rules. The Tower's rules change as the players go along. Each challenge is different and keeps watchers engaged. At number 3 we have Korean based. This is not an anime that comes from the Japanese source material. This certainly helps to bring some uniqueness to the series, as most Japanese-based animes use the culture as a heavy influence. At number 2 we have the timing. A ton of series has sadly been postponed due to the ongoing world health crisis. Tower of Gods is one of the few shows that escaped being postponed and stands out more for fans looking for a new anime. Lastly, at number 1 we have Tower of God has character designs that will be easier to merchandise and can easily be made into keychains or figures. The characters look good and won't stand out when being sold alongside other shows at anime conventions. Tons of anime fans love collecting, and this show is sure not to disappoint. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe.
As it was foreshadowed, the moment there were 2 Korean adaptations, they began fighting each other over who has the bigger dick. Because being racist to all other anime because they are not from Korea is not enough, they have to be racist to each other as well. Let's go over the things Tower of God fans are saying for proving the Aryan superiority of their show. Opening statement. The God of High School did in 1 episode what Tower of God failed to do in 13. Replies.
You're fucking stupid! God of High School did nothing better, and if you're complaining about the art, then you don't know something called an animation style! Not everyone wants the same old look on anime, and it doesn't make any anime better!
He wasn't complaining about the art, you were complaining about the art, and so did thousands of others who didn't like it.
I'm gonna say it, the first episode of God of High School was trash outside of the fights.
And the guy who made the opening statement replies, "That's all there was, lol." Exactly. That's why he liked the episode 4. The action, not the animation, which was fine, unlike in that other trashy show.
Tell this to all the people who subbed to this thread after they watched the anime.
Yeah, I'll tell that to all the casuals who subbed to this thread, only because of an overhyped below-average adaptation, and not by organically finding out on their own over the years. I'm sure they will really care after the show is over, and they will instantly jump to the next hype thing because they never had any long-term commitment. Easy come, easy go.
Don't worry, first season of Tower of God was just a prologue. Second season is where the real shit starts.
Take that, you disbeliever! The non-existing second season of Tower of God is much better than the existing episode of God of High School. Checkmate! Nobody can prove that wrong! Here's another one who praises the great animation. Let's see the replies.
God of High School later on has very inconsistent power levels and the story becomes bad, unlike Tower of God.
Yes, it becomes bad, unlike the Tower of God, which turns into a generic fighting shonen exactly like God of High School. It didn't become bad, it became the exact same thing you're making fun of.
They straight up skipped a lot of the already thing story and they threw you directly in the tournament action. You absolutely can't do something like that with Tower of God. I like Tower of God better.
Yes, you cannot do that with Tower of God, which is why it skipped half the dialogues and crammed the 6 chapters in one episode so it can get straight to the fighting. The Tower of God did not make the same mistake. Take that, fans of not Tower of God.
God of High School will have a higher place in the first 2 seasons and will slowly go down, but Tower of God will be gaining momentum with each season, if it's adapted slowly and with better animation.
Thanks a lot, mate. You really proved why it's better. Thanks to its fictional 25 seasons of beautiful animation that exist only in your delusional mind. Here is someone who is shitting on God of High School because he can't accept the Tower of God being a bad adaptation. The God of High School is not popular, he says, although it's one of the most popular Korean webcomics. Then he mentions numbers as if they mean something. They only prove Tower of God is more popular, not that it's actually better. Lots of shows are better than the most popular anime out there. You didn't prove shit. He says most people dropped it after 2 seasons. Really? What about all the people who dropped Tower of God because it became a mindless fighting shonen after 2 seasons? We are not doing the same mistakes. He says the power levels of God of High School are very inconsistent, while in Tower of God they are very consistent. Are they? They are us pulling new powers all the time and forget the older ones. We are not doing the same mistakes. He says the first episode of God of High School was very confusing and that they skipped a lot of content. It's a horrible adaptation that somehow became popular. Holy shit, son! I can use the exact same words for describing the first episode of Tower of God. And what is that? Tower of God is better because it's not a mindless fighting shonen? Although that's exactly what it is in the 3rd season? And I love that last line. If you want to praise God of High School and put down Tower of God, go do it in their subforum. Not here, where I just praised Tower of God and ridiculed God of High School. Nice double standards there, fellow. And then there is this guy who doesn't like seeing the Korean webcomic fans fighting each other and wants them to just enjoy the adaptations. Because if they like them regardless of how terrible they are, Korea, the superior country to Japan, will make even more Korean adaptations. Consume product and be excited for next product. And the funniest part, I messaged him telling him that it's not divisive when you say one adaptation is better than the other. His reply, "Shut up!" I continue, "Why don't you want people to like something more than something else? Do you want them to like everything the same regardless of quality?" His reply, "I would like to stop this chat, it's making me very uncomfortable." Yeah, I'm sure the truth is triggering your first world sensibilities, and you have no way to defend your irrational accusations against a show that is doing the same mistakes as the other show you are defending. And that is everything I found in just 1 day after the first episode of God of High School came out. Imagine what more wonderful cringe is in store for us in the next 3 months. Thank you, anime community, for providing us with more entertainment than the shows you're supposed to be supporting. Please keep destroying yourselves. It's fun, unlike modern anime.
This is looking like his anime of the year.
Let's go over the same tired, made-up positives about this bad show. The first lies the importance of alliances if you wanna pass the challenges. He doesn't go into details regarding the execution, because if he did, he would be making fun of how superficial alliances actually are in the show. They form artificially because the challenge demands it, and not because the characters want it, and break easily when another challenge wants them to backstab each other in order to get to the next level. Thus there is no point in saying you have to form alliances, since like pretty much everything in this show, they mean nothing. The second lie is the unraveling of the enigmatic purpose of the tower. He makes it sound like it's a big mystery when it's not in the list. Nobody in the show gives a shit about it, they just wanna pass tests and go to the next level. The only mystery comes from the viewer's side, who might wonder what kind of nonsense the characters will encounter next in this completely random setting. It's just random stuff slapped together without any consistency, since they come into existence just for the test and then stop existing, and you never hear about them ever again. Thus the supposed mystery is wandering for the sake of wandering. There is nothing actually there that matters that much for you to care. It's a question you make to yourself, thus, like pretty much everything in the show, it means nothing. The third lie is something every fanboy says about every single show in existence. It's unlike anything we've seen before. There has never been another show with complex world building. One piece of shit and made in a piece don't exist, and they certainly do not have mysteries in them. Only the Tower of God does that, yeah, sure. The fourth lie is the very good characterization. There is nothing particularly good about the characters. They are as typical as they get, and you can find these archetypes in any show. There is absolutely nothing worth praising, especially when it comes to the main character, who is a bland piece of toast, and his childhood sweetheart that everybody remembers only for being a traitorous bitch. They are all one gimmick, not worth your time. But this fanboy won't admit it because he's a fanboy. And the fifth lie is how everybody has realistic reactions, or how the story is character-driven. It's not. The characters are plot devices that are controlled by whatever the tests want them to do. They never went into the tower on their own. The tower teleported them inside. They don't get to choose how to get to the next level. The tests decide that. They don't get to choose who is their ally and who they have to betray. The tests do that. Nobody has agency or urgency because they can't do anything on their own. They are puppets who react however the plot wants them to react. But this fanboy won't admit it because he's a fanboy. And now let's wait a couple of weeks when the reviews for the second season come out and more bullshit about this below average show gets regurgitated.
Don't bother at all. You may as well keep your mouth shut. I don't care.
With the second season of Tower of God coming up, the time to astroturf the casuals is coming closer. The easiest way to do that is by comparing it to popular titles. Solo leveling is better than Sword Art Online, Kaiju number 8 is the next Attack on Titan, Kagurabachi is the new Demon Slayer, and Tower of God is as good as One Piece.
Did you know that the world building of Tower of God is on par with One Piece? It is the One Piece of webcomics.
It doesn't matter if it's true, what matters is saying it's one of the best anime of all times. Oh, and don't forget to include thought-provoking statements, such as if it's done right, it's going to be a good series. Because it's impossible to have a show done wrong and still be a good series. Thanks, Chibi. What would we do without your genius-level intellect?
Really just makes you wonder what's going on. What is the true essence of the story, or what's really at the top? It's kind of very similar to, like, what is the One Piece?
Remember the good old days when you were watching a show because you liked the show and not for theory-crafting bullshit about things that don't exist? Well, that is not the case anymore. Now you watch a show for its potential, meaning what it isn't and what it will never be. Why enjoy a show for what it is when you can theory-craft what it might be? Now that's what real enjoyment is all about.
It might not be as long as One Piece, but basically it is almost the equivalent of that. Like, there's so many chapters that if they really wanted to, they could make an easy 600 episode series.
And why be content with 25 episodes of a show you like when you can be consuming hundreds of subpar episodes, with the only thing motivating you to keep going being the theory crafting, aka what doesn't exist in those hundreds of subpar episodes?
All that considered, there's so much content, and I'm so excited for this, man.
Consume content and be excited for more content.
That cliffhanger at the ending of Season 1 I know caught everybody by surprise. This character is probably one of the most hated characters, I think, in the existence of Webtoon. Rachel is truly just straight up scum. People are going to be wondering, what are we going to do about Rachel as a character, what's going to happen, etc. So many questions.
What a great motivation to keep watching a show for the revenge porn against the woman who betrayed the protagonist. Literally the same reason everybody was watching the Shield Hero for, and lost interest as soon as he got his revenge. Truly, this is what modern entertainment is all about.
I love what Tower of God represents as a story.
Revenge porn.
And it really is a phenomenal series.
So phenomenal, it got a mediocre to bad average rating in all databases and nobody talks about it. We really are in a new era of Korean webcomic adaptations.
This is looking like his anime of the year.
I was looking for something to make fun of Tower of God. It wasn't easy since almost nobody gives a shit about it anymore. Its peak in popularity was in the first episodes when it was constantly trying to convince you it was the beginning of a new era, only to disappoint almost everyone and losing most of its audience in just a month. It's very hard to find anyone who's still giving a shit about it. The best I got was one of the last remaining fanboys accusing everyone who doesn't like the anime, only wrongfully doing so because they haven't read the webcomic. So this good guy replies that has read the entire webcomic and he found it to be terrible. He also corrects that fanboy by stating the obvious. Not everyone who has read the webcomic finds it to be a masterpiece. Guess what the fanboy said in order to defend the webcomic? If you truly believe that, then I feel your main problem is lack of reading comprehension. Just because you can't grasp the scope or main theme of the story due to its grandiose nature doesn't mean it's a bad story or the author is a hack job. Just seems like a skill issue. There is a reason it is literally one of the most popular webtoons out there. This all sounds familiar, doesn't it? The exact same tactics used by fanboys across all mediums. You don't know how to read. You are too stupid to get it. You have skill issues. It is popular, therefore you are wrong. It's always the same. All fanboys use the exact same fanboy mentality, regardless of the specifics of the thing they are defending. The good guy gives him one last great reply to shut him up. Oh yeah, I can locate significant quality problems with the stuff you like, therefore I'm the problem, sure. That is exactly the sort of position I would expect from someone who falls back on popularity as a measure of quality. Lots of entirely shit things have been popular over the course of human history, like bloodletting, plague, and Hitler, but they weren't good things, they were just popular for a time. And there you have it. Just because something was once popular, it doesn't mean it was ever good, and you don't need to look around to realize that. Just look at the statistics of the 2 seasons. Only a fifth of the people who watched the first season bothered to check the second season. Despite that fifth being mostly those who liked the first season, the average score is lower than the first season. Therefore, it never got more popular or better with time, it got worse. But the fanboys are never going to admit that. They will deny reality and keep repeating, you don't know how to read, you're too stupid to get it, you have skill issues, it's popular, therefore you are wrong. And that is why you should never be a fanboy of anything.
Don't bother at all. You may as well keep your mouth shut. I don't care.
I found a review from someone who defended the first season of Tower of God from those who didn't like it. How dare they? His opening statement was that people have different tastes, so it makes sense why some will not like Tower of God. This statement is correct, but it's also a deflection. He's basically saying anyone who didn't like the show had different tastes, and not that the show was bad in any way. He then proceeds to write down the reasons why someone would not like the show based on tastes and not execution. The first one boils down to, if you don't like to think, you won't like the show. Because it's not spoon-feeding you everything, it is subtle, you have to think about what is going on. Same as before, the statement is correct, but it's also a deflection. It is good not to have everything being info-dumped on the viewer and him having to pay attention to what is happening, to let the image speak for itself instead of having the characters over-explaining every single thing. Now, why would he say that about Tower of God? I have no idea, since it's a classic example of over-explaining everything. The webcomic is 70% people standing still and explaining stuff, not including the vlogs of the mangaka, who added even more info dumps that he couldn't fit into the story. In fact, one of the main changes the adaptation made was taking out half of the dialogues so the plot can be faster. As a result, the anime onlys have no idea what is going on half the time. Thus, this guy's accusation of those who don't like the show are not paying attention doesn't make any sense. They can't understand what is going on, even if they pay attention, because they removed the info dumps. And if the show relies so much on info dumps to begin with, you cannot praise the show for being subtle, because it's not. You, sir, are a liar. His next reason for why people would not like Tower of God comes down to length. If you don't like long-running series, then this show is not for you. As if it doesn't matter whether a story lasts as long as it needs to, you just need to like long stories. Consume product and be excited for more products. He didn't even phrase this reason correctly because he explains the story is complex and therefore it needs to be long. If he had titled it that way, it wouldn't sound so stupid. But even if he had named it complex instead of long, it would still be stupid, since this is supposed to be a review of the first season. It is not about a series that is 1,000 episodes long. Accusing people of not liking a 12-episode series because it's too long makes you sound completely stupid, if not a liar. Even 5 years after this review was made, there are only 2 seasons of Tower of God. It's only 24 episodes. Why are you accusing people of not liking it because it's long? It is not long at all, and it will never be long. I doubt there will be another season now that nobody cares about it. Once again, this guy is a liar, and now he's also stupid. His third reason for why people may not like Tower of God is because it has many character interactions. Implying your average anime doesn't have many character interactions. He even mentions school dramas and harem anime as examples of shows that don't have many interactions. What are you talking about? The most subpar school comedy is made up of mostly character interactions. Then you read a bit more and you see this moron using all that as a deflection from the fact that the protagonist of Tower of God is a self-insert. His interactions with other characters are boring because he doesn't have a personality to bounce it off with other personalities, which is where the fun of character interactions lies at. Yet he calls that a matter of personal preference. So to summarize, Tower of God, a series with no character interactions because the protagonist has no character to interact with, is better than harem anime because they don't have character interactions, although they are 90% about characters interacting. Does that make any sense to you? This guy is a complete moron. And yet he doesn't realize it and goes on defending Ban, a self-insert with no personality, to have interesting character interactions, as a great character who needs years to gain a personality, because he's not a typical power fantasy that was made to entertain you. Oh, so he openly admits the protagonist is not entertaining, and yet it's weird when many people don't like the show because he's not entertaining. You are openly admitting they are right not to like the show, and yet you call that personal preferences. It sounds to me like your personal preference is shitty protagonists. Why do you accuse others of not liking shitty protagonists? Because any subpar harem anime is more entertaining for having actual character interactions? Why is that their problem and not yours? You're defending a self-insert with no character to interact with. What a complete moron. His fourth reason is the easiest to refute. He said you won't like the show if you only like mainstream artwork. Well, that is awkward now that the second season is out. They changed the artwork to something completely mainstream and nobody likes it. Not even the handful of people who liked the first season and bother to check the second one. Oh, it's a matter of personal preference, I guess. No, it's not. Nobody likes it despite being what you describe. What a complete moron! Then he mentions reasons for why you would like Tower of God. The first one begins like a flip of a reason you wouldn't like it. Because it's long. It doesn't matter if it's as long as it needs to be, it only matters if it's long. Listen up, this is pure copium. It's been 20 years and none of the fans are complaining. Yeah, sure, right. It's just the second season and everybody shut on it, so much for that. If you are sick of stories that had a great start but then turn into shit, this series might not disappoint you. Yeah, sure. Second season, nobody gives a shit anymore. Second reason for why you would like Tower of God, if you like thinking about possibilities, aka theory crafting. So we get another example where in order to like the show, you must like something that is not in the show. Fan fiction is not part of the show, it's headcanon. What a great reason to like anything. As for the third reason you would like Tower of God, it's because it's dark. As if people are sick and tired of happy shows, they now want dark and edgy ones, which is something nobody does. Look around you. Most popular shows these days are dark. This is not much of a plus when almost everything is dark. So the best thing you can say to defend the show is the most typical thing you can find everywhere. And as the second season proved, nobody gave this show any attention because they had so many other better options. And there you have it. This is what every fan of this complete travesty is telling you in order to deflect the actual reasons the show is awful. What a bunch of clowns!
This is looking like his anime of the year.
Here is another wonderful review of the first season, written by a tower tard. In case you didn't know, when you review a show, you should be reviewing the show. Yet he spends most of the review in attacking anyone who didn't like the show. And yet his review wasn't taken down and he wasn't banned from ALD because he was positive. On the other hand, they perma-banned me even though most of the reviews were about the shows because I was negative about the products they were selling on their shilling site. What? You really thought reviewing was about letting the people know what is actually good or bad? No, it's about always being positive and attacking anyone who isn't positive all the time. Anyways, this approved review starts by shitting on every veteran viewer. What's that? You've watched enough anime to tell what counts as good? You think you know it all, don't you? Well, you are wrong and I know better. This guy hasn't watched that many anime and his mean score is 8.5. He definitely knows more than the veterans. Then he says you shouldn't watch anime to review them, you should watch anime to be immersed in them. Oh really? Why does one negate the other? Can't you be negative about the shows you don't like? Are you forbidden from writing reviews if you are? What if you like them? Are you still forbidden from writing them? Because you should only be immersed in them instead of reviewing them? And yet here you are reviewing despite being positive. Although you're not really talking about the show, so you're not reviewing. See how nothing of what he says makes any sense? That last line is especially funny because he says, "Give Tower of God the time to kick off and it will be worth it." Well, here we are in the future. Was it worth it now that it kicked off? Obviously not, everyone hates it. Also, he made a prediction that was miles off, since it wasn't worth it one bit, yet he mocked the veteran viewers who said the show was banal and bland and predicted it wouldn't be good. What an asshole! It's perfectly fine when he makes predictions that are off, yet he mocks others who are proven right in their predictions. Then he says, don't worry, the Tower of God is not banal like Sword Art Online, because it's perfect. Oh, the irony of calling something everyone was praising as a masterpiece at first being banal, while this banal show nobody cares about anymore is supposed to be a masterpiece. He then promises it will be the most sophisticated anime that will make all other anime to seem bland. Yes, that's exactly what we think of it now. Then he attacks every other show and its fanbase by saying they may be better, but compared to the potential of Tower of God, they are a bunch of shrimps against a giant shark. Yes, and we all see the Tower of God is such a giant shark right now. Nobody cares, and no other show is constantly praised for having a lot of potential. Besides all of them, the rest of the text is him describing how the show changed his life and how it's gonna make you loathe every other show there is. What a prediction that was surely proven to be right. Let's make sure not to ban this guy who was spreading lies, and let's instead ban the guy who was right when he said the show was bad right from the start. What a freaking terrible community!